A good evening to all of you. Today is Thursday, April 10th, the Community Development Advisory Committee. It's time to bring this meeting to order. Let's call attendance, starting with Eileen.
Eileen Hughes, District 2.
John Brunza, mayoral appointee.
Mary Ann Callahan, mayoral appointee.
Michelle O'Loughlin, member at large.
Marilyn Austin, the 6th District.
Jordan Trice, 5th District.
And I'm Justin McGregor, the chair representing the 7th District of City Council. All right, we all got the email. Did you get the minutes from the April 2nd meeting from last Wednesday? Do we see any changes or anything that needs to be made to those?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of our April 2nd meeting.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll motion a second.
Jordan for second. All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none. It is unanimous. All right, I don't have my glasses on. Starting out, third on our agenda is our department presentations, and I guess you're up because you're the only one here. BLDC, everybody.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Sarah Gloss. I'm the Director of Economic Development, and by virtue of that role, I am also the Executive Director of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation. So I'm here today just to talk to you a little bit about what the BLDC does. I apologize. My copy of the annual report has a typo on the first page. If yours does, I will make sure you get the updated copy via email. So just a little bit about the Binghamton Local Development Corporation. If you are unfamiliar, the public benefit corporation, it's overseen by the authority's budget office of New York State. So we have various compliance regulations that we have to abide by. It is a board made up of ex officio members of City Hall, as well as appointed folks, generally representing business community, chamber of commerce, small business owners, property owners, people that have kind of a vested interest and also experience with business development, facade beautification, and are generally seen as leaders in our community. So we're really grateful to our board, and they're outlined in this document. So I can talk a little bit about our activities for the 2023-2024 plan year. So you'll see that a lot of the dates in here are referencing 2023 and 2024. We follow the same calendar year that CDBG follows. So our fiscal year starts in September and closes at the end of August. So this is that September 2023 to August 2024. I'm happy to talk about anything that's happened since then, but just to give you an idea of where we are. We offer a variety of loan programs. The one that is most germane to this group is our revolving loan program that is seeded by Community Development Block Grant funding, which means it is specifically allocated to support either the creation, retention, or a service that is provided to low to moderate income members of our community. So we have one of those loans that went out in the 2023-2024 plan year, which is to CLAW. If you're not aware, CLAW is a really, really great Binghamton-based, founded, owned, operated company on Griswold Street. They take waste glass from the recycling stream and they turn it into an additive for concrete that replaces slag, which is a byproduct of coal fire power plants. And so it is increasingly less common, more expensive, and obviously coming from a non-renewable source. So this is a really innovative, great product. Jacob and his team have been excellent. And while they have developed a great product and a great company, Jacob himself has not taken a large amount of income from this organization. He's really driven by the passion of it and building the product, obviously with a goal towards long-term success. We were able to qualify him as a low mod income owner, given his status of not really taking a lot of equity out of the company at this point. So I think it's really great for our community. They've been growing a ton, especially since the end of this 2023-2024 year. They just won a national award for a project that they worked on in Whitney Point with the New York State Department of Transportation. So we're really excited to be kind of part of their journey. They were a winner of our Binghamton Local Development Corporation Business Plan competition a number of years ago. So really from beginning to end, the City of Binghamton, the Binghamton Local Development Corporation, and the Binghamton community have been a part of CLAW's story. So we're really happy that we were able to support them in their growth. We also offer a number of technical assistance. I wouldn't necessarily call them programs. We operate on what we call a concierge style. Basically, if people have problems, they can come to us and we're going to help them solve them. Sometimes that's referring them to other agencies. Sometimes that's direct help. Sometimes that's just pointing them into the right office in City Hall. Sometimes that's people who want to go to the county and end up at City Hall and we have to direct them across the parking lot. How this plays into our community development block grant funding is that we qualify a number of our hours based on the businesses that we help under business assistance. So any businesses that we help that serve low to mod income folks or in low to mod income areas, Steve helps us keep track of all those hours, and then a very, I would say, a de minimis portion of our salaries are reimbursed through the CDBG process. But that's how our technical assistance fits into this particular program. Just a couple of exciting things that happened over the last year and a half at this point. IA, formerly Innovation Associates, moved into the Charles Street Business Park. This is a long-held BLDC asset that has had pretty minimal investment. We're starting to see people being more interested in the park, and Innovation Associates, IA, locating there and bringing 85 employees, many of whom had previously been remote, into the park has been a great boon, not just for the Charles Street Business Park, but Clinton Street as a whole. We're hearing about more demand that's coming out of that relocation, and we were happy to support that in a very small way with a commercial facade renovation grant that went through the BLDC that enabled them to create their iconic purple facade that represents the IA brand at their national headquarters at 30 Charles Street. We are also very proud of our commercial facade improvement grant, specifically in the way that it was able to leverage public dollars into private investment. So you'll see here that we have awarded $499,909 or $5,000 initial application. To date, we have paid out, well, I apologize. As of the end of the fiscal year, we had paid out about $175,000. $184,000 in private investment leveraged against that. We're actively working with a number of other projects that are not ready for reimbursement at this point, but who are working through our process, and many more reimbursements that have happened since the end of the fiscal year that will be in next year's report. On page 8, we have one that I'm really, really proud of, which is 58 Clinton Street, that is now the ward. That was, you can see here on the left, a very poor looking facade, and with just a very small amount of money, $5,250 from the BLDC. These folks were able to really transform that into something that is warm, welcoming, inviting, and it helped them be successful when they opened their doors. It's now not only, you know, a food and drink establishment, but a really great part of that neighborhood. They host events, they host bands, they host pop-up food with local vendors, and they've just been really wonderful to work with, and we're really proud to support that project. It also demonstrated to us the value of some of these small dollar investments. We love to make $200,000 loans that leverage a lot of private money and create jobs. Those are wonderful, wonderful projects. But being able to put just a small amount of money into something that makes such a big visual difference and really supports a small business owner is something that we're really proud to be a part of. Our annual BLDC business plan competition is what I would refer to as kind of our signature event every year. Joel Boyd in my office, my assistant director, is the primary driver behind this. But every year we accept a number of business plans into our competition and evaluate them with a panel of volunteer judges. This year we are really proud that we are able to offer $10,000 as our total prize package for the business plan competition, with some support from some generous donors. So you'll see here last year's competition, which had what is now our second highest prize pool of $7,500 with a $5,000 award to the winner. Again, it's not a ton of money. We're not necessarily expecting these folks to always go on and do what CLAW does, although we would love to see that. Sometimes it's just giving someone a chance to kind of explore a business idea, We've had another success story is Strategic Test Prep Solutions, a one-woman show really just set out to provide virtual test prep services, primarily coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. She is now grown. She has a number of staff. She's on track to have a very, very high profit return this year. Still based here in Binghamton and is a great advocate for our other business owners and has come back to the competition a couple times and provided her expertise to folks who are interested in participating. We just did the first round of reviews and sent out our acceptances to those who will be moving to the next round of this year's competition. So hopefully you will see some announcements about that soon as we are able to announce the winner in May. Last year's first place winner was Civic Alert Systems. It's a company that does text messaging specifically for municipalities, trying to help them better connect with their constituency, provide real-time updates on things like emergencies, but also scheduled updates maybe around things like, hey, there's a holiday this week, the trash schedule is going to be different. That company is still building their next steps, but they again have participated in our business plan competition this year by kind of providing an overview of their story and are continuing to work through kind of the next steps of their business to establish here in Binghamton and grow their presence. I also want to highlight with FireMar. Last year, we announced that FireMar, located at 22 Charles, is a former power plant. Is this working? Okay. In the first ward, if you then started working on the power plant, notice that you can see the stack basically everywhere in Binghamton. If you notice big white stack in the first ward, we are proud that I think I'm cutting out a little bit. Now, terrible.
There you
Thank you. The manufacturing business is now in that facility, and that was with support from the BLDC working with New York State and NYSERDA to provide them with some grant dollars and just some general technical assistance as they got located here. So we are working with them to get fully operational in 2025, and ultimately that property will move into private ownership. The BLDC is currently holding it as they get their operations in order, and we'll transfer that property in 2025. I think that's it as far as my formal presentation about what we do at the Binghamton Local Development Corporation and more broadly in the Office of Economic Development, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has or provide any additional details.
I don't necessarily have a question, but I do want to comment on the fact that Sarah is very community oriented and will come to any meeting that you invite her to and share with your members. So thanks for everything you do.
Thank you. There's nothing I love more than talking about Binghamton.
I have a question as well. How can we help? And where would you like to see us direct our priorities?
That's a great question. I don't think I have an answer to it off the top of my head, although I can definitely think more. I think the one thing I've been consistently trying to talk to everyone about, business leaders, citizens, neighborhood groups, is Binghamton is a really, really wonderful place. And I think that there are a lot of people that don't necessarily believe that. And so the more positively that we can talk about Binghamton, the more that we can celebrate our successes and the ways in which we come together, as opposed to the things that we don't agree on. I think a lot has changed in Binghamton in the last 15 years that I've lived here, and most for the better. And I think we are navigating a really difficult moment, not just the current moment, but everything since the COVID-19 pandemic has felt really different than it did before. And I think Binghamton is a really great size and a really great community that's been able to weather that storm in a lot of ways that I have not necessarily seen all cities be able to do. So I think the more positively we can talk about Binghamton and, see ourselves as worthy of investment and worthy of people living here and loving their lives here the way that I do and the way that I know a lot of folks in this room do, and in the community in general. I just feel really positively about it. And I don't want to have rose-colored glasses on and pretend that we don't have any problems, but I find that it is much more productive and useful in my field to talk about the ways that we are succeeding and the ways in which we are advancing against our shared goals.
I can talk from, sometimes I have some stuff. I can talk from a more practical perspective of what CDBG covers. It does cover economic development's salaries, or at least a portion. I won't get into the nitty gritty because Sarah knows it's complex, but essentially the more local businesses located in low income areas or that provide services to low income people that they assist, sort of higher percentage of their salaries we can cover. I think the last one was what, roughly 50%, or maybe a little bit less than 50%. And we were able to cover that. And that was a large assortment of local businesses, restaurants, bars, that kind of thing. They also are sort of in charge of the revolving loan account. Hello? They call it the restricted account, but it's the same. That's about, thank you. That's about $500,000. And with that money, they were able to utilize it in the past for certain things. So from your perspective of what you're going to fund, you're essentially looking at salaries, which I can give later. Sarah doesn't have to give them right now, but I'll give you an annual salary amounts. The amount that's in the restricted loan account in case you guys want to put more into there. But also if you have any questions about projects you think could be funded with CDBG, if you think about it, we can do capital projects, we can do studies and stuff like that. And then if Sarah's able to use those, then that's not something you guys could budget.
Yeah, and I'll add that if you are talking to businesses or if you are seeing business needs out there, we're always happy to talk to folks and see how we can bring, whether it's CDBG resources or any of our other technical assistance resources to bear on supporting anyone. The worst thing I can hear is that something went wrong and someone says, well, I didn't even know that you guys were there to help me with that. It's a lot easier for us to be proactive in helping people avoid issues than it is for us to help them fix them on the back end. We will happily do both. But if there's anything that we can ever do for any folks in your community, we're happy to do so.
Any other questions for Sarah?
Well, thanks for having me. And like I said, I will provide a PDF version of this so folks who did not get to see it with color can see, especially that purple IA facade. And I recommend driving by if you haven't seen it in person.
If I can jump in for one more question. We this year have had a number of requests for help with roofs in some of our historic buildings. Are you aware of any of that? Has any of that gotten to you? I think Roberson, help me out here. The
American Legion 80, the Phelps Mansion. They're all businesses too, right?
Yeah, and
So
a lot
yeah,
of money.
we're limited in the way that we can help nonprofits. Primarily what our office would do would be to help direct them to other grants that are more appropriate for them. So I know that for Roberson specifically, we worked with them a little bit last year on an Environmental Facilities Corporation grant for their larger kind of stormwater grounds project. So most of those resources are going to come from somewhere else, but we are happy to try to connect people with them. As it comes to residential homes, the city has a number of different programs that can be helpful. Right now, First Ward Action Council, in coordination with Home Headquarters out of Syracuse, is managing, I believe they just got up to $1 million through the Targeted Home Improvement Program that can be used to support home repairs for income qualified folks in 13905 and I believe 13904 area codes. But those would be the primary resources. But yeah, we are limited in the LDC that we don't generally make loans to nonprofits, if at all.
Certainly makes sense, but I mean, you're a fantastic resource, and in the event that we don't have the money to help as much as we want to help, I'd like to be able to send people your way for resources.
Absolutely. And what's nice about community development block grant is if you can get partial funding, this can be used as leverage. So if someone comes to us and wants to apply for a $200,000 state loan, and maybe that's what that grant maxes out at. And And if they're able to get that and secure that and then potentially back that up or vice versa, I know sometimes the timing and the eligibility can be an issue, and that's where I'll defer to Steve. But yeah, I think it can be part of a larger package. We talk about it as, in my world, it's capital stacking. It's how you get all of the money literally in a stack to make your project work. So especially if you're talking to people about gaps that they have in their financing, or if they need bridge financing because they have a grant, but it's reimbursable, those are things that we can generally work with as long as they're commercial activities. And like I said, we do have that caveat with nonprofits, especially with CDBG. I know we have our service cap and other things we're up against, but always happy to have a conversation. It's a lot easier when we ask specifics, because then we can say like, yes, we definitely do that. And no, we definitely don't do that. But
One more question on Charles Street. The previous tenant had right of refusal for other people to join them in the park, right? Does the current tenant have that too, or no?
so there's a couple of different option agreements that are currently active in the park. So right now there are active options on every parcel, but those are time bound. I believe that options on 2 of the parcels expire this summer. I believe one of those has a potential for an extension. The other, that's the end, and they would have to come back to us. And we do have people that contact us interested in space at the Charles Street Business Park. At this point, we're really just taking down their information, and then we'll reach back out as potential properties open up. But it also gives us a great opportunity to understand what their needs are, and if that property is not available, or if we know of other properties that are in the city that might be a good use for them, we're happy to direct them. Again, I will give credit to Joel Boyd, my assistant director. He knows every piece of property in the city of Binghamton. He knows what's for sale and what's for rent, even before the people who are in the building know that half the time. And he's really great at matching projects with property owners. He knows how to be just the right amount of pushy, just the right amount of calling people one more time to see if they'll fit someone in for a showing. He's really a rock star, and I can't say more about him in that regard.
Thank you. Any other questions for Sarah? No? All right. Thank you very
for
much.
having me.
I'd like the record to show that Deborah is now here for attendance. Hello, Deborah. Oh. Sarah's got a packet for you. She will be. I think you were here, but she will be providing a full color PDF for us. Okay, so you're going up next?
All right.
Formal invitation. Steven's coming up next. So if you ever wanted to grill him, now's your chance.
Now's your chance to get out. All right, so I'm here on behalf of both the planning department as well as the housing department. I'm listing them as 2 different ones because there's sort of the nature of the beast between the 2 is different enough. Also, when it comes to CDBG funds, you have to identify funds that are for planning versus funds that are for admin versus funds that are for housing. So on behalf of Juliet, who is on a well-deserved vacation right now, I will, and Tito, I will be doing the planning. It is in the packet that's there. You want the one that says PHCD, Planning, Housing, and Community Development. Now, Juliet did add in housing here, sort of an additional, just because she is my boss. So she overarches, she has full control of planning, housing, community development. And then housing and community development, or sometimes we just call that the HUD stuff. That's sort of a separate thing. And then housing is different from admin. But that's all under me. And then on the planning side is what I'm talking about now. It's basically Tito and down. So her overall department budget, she says here, 10 staff positions, 5.66 for planning, zoning, historic preservation, 4.34 housing and HUD admin. And that's because we share staff between the 2, specifically. What is Danielle? What's Danielle's title? Program assistant. I do not want to say reception person because it's much more than that. But yeah. So that's shared between the departments. As she says, our office is responsible for planning commission, zoning board of appeals, CAUD, this committee, well, planning's not, Shade Tree Commission and the traffic board. They have weekly pre-development meetings, and they have, she is on the Binghamton Local Development Corporation, and the Binghamton Housing Authority Board of Directors, or we have staff on those. They develop and assist in the development of plans for community development housing projects for all my residents. That's more of our stuff, but planning does do a lot of grants outside of CDBG. One of them is the AHC grant, which is connected with housing, but the housing doesn't control that. It just is part of our housing. Essentially, we can put X amount of dollars of HUD money in, and then we put this AHC grant for a little bit additional more. Previous CDBG funding for the last full CDBG fiscal year, we had slightly less staff positions. I will go into the housing side. Don't worry on my side of things. I will note that as of last year, planning spent 5,300 in planning salaries. And then I'll give you an estimate at the end on how much I recommend for planning salaries. And also the GIS payments, which go to county, have not come out, so they weren't made in that year. So I've got to go through and find out why and pay those out. CDBG is a very, very large portion of overall planning, the overall department's budget, just for reimbursement for staff salaries, which is probably one of the largest. If you include the additional stuff for rehab work, it's a huge amount of that department's budget. Next year, she is saying that she wants to get some new positions going. One new staff position for zoning compliance at 40K. Depending on what they can and cannot do in that zoning compliance, they may or may not be eligible under CDBG, or it might be a portion that's eligible under CDBG. I'll have to talk to her more, and if you do want to go down that route of funding it, we'll do an estimation of how much we think will be CDBG eligible. The next ones are all essentially plans and studies, fully reimbursable under CDBG. These are basically studies and plans. She wants to do an open space inventory and plan with co-development. Estimation of that is about 75,000. That's actually part of the climate action plan, which I don't know if anyone knows about the climate action plan. That was done in 2023, just finally adopted in 2024, with plans for overarching plans of zero net emissions of carbon by 2035, which is very, before anyone thinks it's crazy, the last one they did was in 2011, based off 2006 numbers. They had a 25% by 25%, 25 by 25. So 25% reductions by the year 2025. They hit that 25% reduction in half the time. And by now it's over 50. So the potential is there to meet those requirements. Similarly, a community disaster resistance plan, a resilience plan, that's also in the CAP. Again, she's estimating about 75,000 for this. Do note, these numbers are not for all next year. This is also, remember, we're projecting out 5 years. So if you see budgets, you may say to yourself, hey, we could fund one study this year, or maybe half a study and accept the A lines from to cover the rest or other grants. And that's acceptable too. Emergency LMI relocation assistance. That would potentially be eligible under CDBG as well, and ironically not in the planning cap. So planning and admin are capped at 20% of overall CDBG expenditures. Relocation assistance is its own special category under CDBG, and that's one of those things that's not capped. So if you did want to come up with a relocation assistance plan, that could be 100% eligible under CDBG and not impact any caps. Now, a plan itself is one thing, and the action on that plan is another thing altogether. So just be aware of that. And then a housing analysis for use for the comprehensive plan and grant applications. Again, another 75,000. I think she was just guessing some numbers here, and that's okay. That potentially could be fully eligible under housing, but I'd have to look under that as well. She talked about areas of the populations to be served by CDBG funded programs. She's right. The majority of CDBG eligible neighborhoods, it's citywide benefits. The city as a whole is LMI. It's easier to describe what areas are not low income. South Side West, South Side East, the West Side, and what's the park? Northeast Park. What's that called? Fairview Park area. Okay, thank you. Okay. So those are not low income areas. Everything else in the city is low income. In some other areas of the city, if you remember the data meeting we had at the very beginning of this, well, September, I pointed out areas that were critically low income, poverty stricken, just really rough areas economically, that potentially could be focal points. If she had any issues with CDBG, she says no problems at all, but I'm going to tell you this, every department has problems with CDBG because every department has problems with me telling them they can't do something. And it's unfortunate that I have to say no a lot. But I have to, and that's just because of the nature of the regulations surrounding CDBG. At the very bottom, I recommend, since she didn't really put any, hard numbers for planning for next year, recommend 40,000 for planning salaries. Take that with a grain of salt. I think Munis is incorrect. The financials, the data tracking system I used, I think they were incorrect for that when I pulled that number today. So I'm going to go back in. If I'm going to take a guess, drop it to 20. We'd probably be a little bit safer. And then, of course, $7,000 for GIS services for next year. Again, we haven't paid it at least last year, possibly more years. That's how I can generate maps. It's how I can determine whether code enforcement has done something that's in an eligible area. So those are vital. We do that through Broome County. I mean, we do have some GIS people on staff. We've looked at getting GIS licenses before, but it's generally looked at the city as a whole pays for GIS services from Broome County. We're just paying a portion of it. I don't know. ArcGIS is Esri, who runs ArcGIS, really do like to amp up the costs for getting a license, and it's very strict. Is it worth 7,000? I don't know. That's an unknown, but we've generally been pushed to just support the overall city payment to the GIS at Broome County. So that's planning as a whole. I probably should have started off. Planning is not admin. It's not housing. It's the things that you do where you create studies or you make plans. Duh, it's called planning. And just like every other department, they have to track their hours with CDBG, which is, as I was talking about Sarah's people, they have to track their hours with CDBG. And I think code doesn't. We just base it off of overall where the areas they are. But that's a newer thing that we've started doing to meet HUD requirements. So the information I gave you on the estimated salaries last year is based off of people actually inputting that they did CDBG time. So from a planning perspective, does anyone have questions about studies, about plans? I can talk a little about CAP because I'm doing a presentation on it tomorrow. You're welcome to come. But does anyone have any planning based questions? Deb. Mm-hmm. Okay, so from a planning perspective, they would have to come to planning. I don't know if they have come to planning yet on that expansion. From the CDBG side, I'll just jump in there. They've not come to me with any assistance for that. So unfortunately, I can't really give you much information about that. And I don't know of any of the plans that like the comp plan or anything like, or sorry, yeah, the comp plan, whether it included mentions of moving of the YM or the YW. Are they doing it? Are they trying, do you know if they're just sort of creating new housing? Is that what the plan is? Mm-hmm. Hmm. Oh, it's going to be student housing? Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Do you know what they're planning on doing with it? Oh, okay, okay, so they're building new housing. You know what? I think I do recall Carol Coppins from the Y talking about that. Yeah. I don't know the current status of it. It potentially is CDBG eligible, depending, but they've not, since they haven't approached us, we really can't do much. They did ask for Chodo certification last year, but it wasn't in regards to Lyle. It was sort of just a generic asking for recertification. You really only get recertified per project, so I'm not sure. I wonder if that's what they were doing. But other than that, unfortunately, Deb, I don't know any more details about that. I do apologize. Any-
Steve,
Oh, yeah.
the housing analysis, can you tell us what that consists of?
The housing analysis.
Yeah.
The one she's.
Considering we've been talking about our housing stuff.
Oh, my understanding, the way it is they want to kind of take stock of what the city has. Admittedly, we have census data. We have the ACS. So I'm sorry. We have the American Community. I'm so used to talking in just anagram. We have the American Community Survey, which is sort of between the census. The American Community Survey does sort of yearly estimates. So instead of a census is everyone responds, the ACS is just a sample size, and they do 3 and 5 and 4 year rolling estimates. Crap, I lost what I was just talking about. Oh, the housing market analysis. So I believe my understanding is they want to have a firm come in and literally go to almost identify every single residential structure, determine vacant, not vacant, multifamily, single family, condition, state of it. I don't know if it's going to get more into that, such as the income of the people living there, the number of people living there. That's very intrusive, but maybe, or maybe they'll sample size it. I'm not sure. But that would be like a very thorough index and accounting for the housing in the city. Now, any kind of study like that, understand it's going to be a snapshot in time. It's going to be a snapshot of when those people were there, because a property that is vacant now may be not vacant a week from now and vice versa. But it does give a good snapshot of what's going on. We may find out there is more rental housing than we were aware of, that the ACS shows. We may find certain areas of the city have poor housing conditions. I know, amazing. I know it's going to surprise anyone that there might be some poor housing in the city. I've walked around enough to know that this stuff exists. And the worst is when you see a beautiful old house and you just see it falling apart. That is just the worst. So my understanding is that's what it's for. So it's basically a big study of all the residential units in the city. And that's going to be very useful for housing calculations, determinations going forward. Anyone else about planning?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I wanted to know more about the community disaster resilience plan. Is that just for like if there's another flood
Yeah.
or
So
earthquake or whatever the case may be?
I am so glad been working on the CAP for the last week and a half. All right. So the climate action plan, one of the items identified was actually the CDR as well as the open space inventory. The community disaster resilience plan, from what my understanding and reading of it is basically a plan in place for any sort of future disasters, whether it's driven by climate change or not. We have to accept that certain disasters will hit this area. Probably the most predominant one is obviously flooding. Been flooded 2011, 2006, before then even. But that's not the only thing. Does anyone remember how horrible the air was last summer, 2 summers ago, because of the fires in Canada? That can occur again. That may be climate driven, but in those kinds of situations, there may be residents who cannot stay in their homes because they don't have AC, they don't have filters. So we may need to come up with figuring out either municipal or non-municipal properties that people can come to as sort of safe places to breathe. In a similar vein, if fires break out and are not easily able to be contained by the fire departments, think of wildfires. So if a wildfire started, down in Pennsylvania, was approaching the city, what do we do in a situation like that? Where do people go? And that's what a plan would do. We'd identify the most likely potential disasters and what the city can do with people to help get them out of harm's way, and not just get out of harm's way, but resilience. How do you bounce back? If a quarter of the buildings in the city burn, that's a horrible disaster. How do we get the money back for fixing all that stuff up? Flooding, the same way. Flooding happens. How do we build back quick as possible? Also, do we want to build back? If you're in the flood prone area, do we want to have those buildings, or do we want to find resources to help relocate people out of the floodplain? So that's the whole part of resilience is how do you sort of bounce back? You prepare for disasters, you plan for them, and then once they happen, how do you get everyone to live and how do you get everybody back to where they were as much as possible in a safe way?
You working with co-ed on that as well, or?
I'm not working with anyone on it just yet because it's still sort of theoretical kind of where we're going with that. I believe the city is part of the regional disaster recovery plan. So this might be tied in with that,
Okay,
working with other municipalities and obviously Broome County, because it's definitely a regional kind of thing, both the prevention and the bounce back. Because, all it takes is a few disasters and you can, lose half the population of the city, if disasters are worse enough. So, that's my understanding of it.
thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any other plans? No, I'm planning. Questions?
Any other questions for planning? Nope. Now your second one.
Housing and community development or HUD admin and housing. I have a million different names. It's like a cat. We have 1,000 nicknames for what my department is. So I use the interview page and then I included some additional pages which are detailing. You're not going to get this detailed from any other department because no other department understands their CDBG budget like the guy who controls the CDBG budget. So this is the blessing that you guys get from the CDBG program. Overall department budget, like I said before, the department expenses mingle, but the admin and housing department is 229,000. That covers 100% of our salaries, which is about 222,000. So the vast majority of the department's budget is salaries. The remainder would be advertising, travel, training, memberships, overtime. I think equipment too, although that may be under a separate A line. In the last full fiscal year, the following salaries were expended by the various departments or the various subsections under my department. Housing, which includes CDBG housing and home housing, are the same people. That's the let's see here, housing coordinator and housing specialist. That's Jeff and Cam. And we spent 67,000 from the CDBG and 33,000 from home. So that's about 110,000 for them. For CDBG admin, which includes myself as the HUD manager, Shannon, who is our lovely housing and community development specialist, as well as a portion of our program assistant, that was about 95,000 last year. Now understand Shannon's position is somewhat new, so it's not reflected in that older time period. CDAC stipends, you guys, we spent 4,800 last year. That was not the full stipend. The full stipend does need to be budgeted fully because it's a regulatory thing. And then the rehab and purchase projects, which I'll describe later. Percentage of the overall budget CDBG. Why did I write that? Oh, what percentage of the overall budget is CDBG? That's about 85%. And the reason is that we have to track our CDBG hours. So we don't include things like vacation, sick time, personal leave, or if we're working in a non-CDBG capacity. So generally everyone's doing 100% CDBG, but there are reasons why it's not 100% covered. Describing anticipating new activities or programs. We have been kicking these things around, but we have changed some things recently. We expanded our rehab program to include more expenses per rehab. We used to have a 50K cap. It's now up to 100, which includes a good chunk of AHC money as well. We are also doing micro rehabs and energy efficiency projects where we're helping people, say, purchase an energy efficient water heater or an energy efficient stove or something like that. And we've also doubled our home purchase assistance from 5K to 10K now. And because of that, we're getting a lot more people on the line with that. So with all the numbers I'm going to give you here in a minute, and you're going to get swamped with numbers, take all that with a grain of salt because we've only been doing this like this, I want to say, for the last 4 or 5 months, maybe the beginning of the year, that we've upped our game on this stuff. We are also looking, and I didn't write it down, potentially trying to figure out how to work with Sarah and her department for helping landlords do rental rehabs. It's a tricky thing using CDBG or home money for rental rehabs outside of a nonprofit, just because of the HUD regulations. And also you don't want people to take advantage of it. So you don't want to go in and rehab an apartment for the apartment owner to immediately turn around, kick the person out and put someone else in and charge more rent. So that's something you don't want to have happen. Well, how do you fix that? Well, now you're starting to meddle with things. Okay, now you have maybe require at least a year lease, stipulating that the first person going in there has to be low income. There may be some monitoring involved, but maybe that's too intrusive. The thing I always say is we need to find the clients we want to help or the citizens we want to help the most and focus it around that. And I always think of it as, think of the 88-year-old lady who lives in a 2-family and want to rent the other side to just help pay a little bit extra of her costs. I like that. That's a good person to help, because she's probably not going to mess over the other person. She's not looking to scam the system. She just wants a little bit extra because she wants to give her kids some extra presents at Christmas, her grandkids extra presents. That's the way I'm looking at it. And so when we create these programs and these new rules and stipulations, we have to take those into account. And that's the tricky thing. The other ones are they're owner occupied. So the person who's in there is low income already. They're the reason they qualify. But rental programs get more problematic, and it goes from 2 units all the way to, as many multi-units as possible. What happens if someone's living on site versus a property owner not on site? And so all of that has to be taken into account. But I have been talking to Sarah a little bit about maybe using some BLDC loan funds and then we do it as a loan, not a grant, but it's low interest. Maybe we forgive a portion if they meet XYZ criteria over 5 years. These are just things we're tossing around. This is still just football tossing in the backyard. We're not serious yet, but we have changed the current one so that we're putting more money into single family homes and we're giving families that are low income more money to purchase a house. So another long-term expense, I just thought of this today, is I'd like to increase our security somewhat for personal records. It's not that it's not secure now, but it could be more secure. We have had an First Amendment auditor come through the city last year. I don't know if do I need to explain what a First Amendment auditor is? Okay. First Amendment auditor is someone who comes into a municipal office or property, oftentimes police headquarters, but they do city halls and courts as too. And they have a camera out and they walk around and film people, which is, understand me, 100% legal. And they try to get a reaction from people, because if they get a reaction from someone who's doing a bad reaction and oppresses their rights, they then sue the city. So I have a love-hate relationship with these. I like what they're doing and I don't like what they're doing at the same time. But we have had an auditor walk through and potentially almost got into some secure areas. And being aware of that, I want more security, at least for our files, for our offices. And it's nothing crazy. It's not like traps or nothing. We're just talking about maybe some badge swipes and gates here and there, but it's something we'd like to look at long term. Define the areas of population to be served by the CDBG funded programs. Well, for housing, it's homeowner rehab assistance, low-income homeowners, our home purchase assistance, low-income families, renters purchasing new homes. I didn't include it in here, but CHODOs, those are low-income renters as well. Well, very low-income renters. And then overall, our programs, these agencies that come in, that's who we fund. You see there's clientele, seniors, youth, the disabled. All of these have programs that use CDBG, home, or ESG funding. So specific issues using CDBG funds or problems you have experienced using CDBG funds. Dealing with HUD is not fun. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. So going on to actually some raw numbers, I'll explain this. And if you look in CDBG and home have 2 very similar boxes, and I'll kind of explain what's going on there. I looked at the last 12 months expenses, and then I basically projected out till the end of the fiscal year to figure out if we had enough money for this year, plus the additional year that you're getting ready to fund. Does that make sense? So we need to have enough money to cover the rest of this year, plus a year after that. So looking at that, I also gave, for the rehab and homeowner projects, for CDBG anyway, I gave a 20% markup. because we've expanded these programs. There's more money going into them, more people taking part of the first time home buyer. And like certain projects like the appliance program, or those sort of micro rehabs where we might just do a roof, we can only do those with CDBG because home requires any rehab work to fix every single code issue in the house. That can be a lot of money, which is why it's better if it's, the $100,000. But if you just want to fix someone's roof, it's going to be a pain to then go through and try to fix every single code failure. So that's why I put a 20% markup on CDBG, sorry. Then I compared it to the amount of money we have available in older budget lines. And then I made an estimation of how much program income we've earned to date and how much we'll earn by the time these programs end next year. So essentially saying how much from now until the end of what you're budgeting will we need to have to cover these. So my estimation is that we'll need about $180,000 for the homeowner rehab and home purchase assistance. I would also like to split out a new line using CDBG that's just for filing fees. And that would be about 14,000 based off of projection numbers. In addition, on CDBG, we did have a lead testing line. I would now like to include that to just be an environmental testing because we're now having to take into account radon, and it's potential that we're going to find some other environmental things we need to take care of as well. Right now, it's just radon and lead, and doing again the similar calculation comparing to the last list of available funds, I'm asking for $2,000 for environmental testing. Housing salaries, that's a straight up calculation projected forward. We'll probably need about 82,000. That's just CDBG housing. CDBG, and I'll talk about that. That's one got a big caveat. I'll talk about it in home. CDBG admin requesting 146,000. CDAC stipends, this is regulatory, 6325. And then auditing, although we did not spend auditing for the last 2 years, I sent an email to the is it acting comptroller? I don't know if he's the official comptroller now. Chuck Robinson saying, we didn't pay for auditing the last 2 years. We need to pay for that. But that is $11,000. I've not found out if it should be higher, but we'll just go for $11,000 for that year. Looking at home, which is a completely separate grant. The salaries there are predicted about 10,000. Now, projected annual request is 30,000. For those who've done the budget before, if you remember, there is a maximum amount you can put in admin for home. So between that home admin and CDBG housing, the number would be essentially what I'm requesting, 30 plus, where's housing salaries? 82. So about 112,000 between the two. Max out housing admin, the rest CDBG. That's what I'm saying there. And I'll try to do it in the Excel spreadsheet, but I sometimes screw it up, so I do apologize. Home rehab, again, using the last 12 months, projecting to the end of this year, and then figuring out how much money you'd have to put in until the end of until 8/31/2026. Taking into account program income, we actually come in more money with PI predictions and which is program income. I do apologize. Program income projections going forward, and with the amount of money we have in older funds, we actually have more than I predict we will use in the next 12 months or until the end of the next fiscal year. I talked this over with my housing guys and they beg, please add some more. And I said, okay, I'll give you 100. I'll ask for an extra 100K. Just because our programs are getting bigger. So I'm asking for $100,000. We'll just drop it in there and we'll see where it goes with that. So, and the rest of home, I recommend putting into Chodo. We don't seem to be able to use Chibra, and the other home eligible activities that are not a lot just aren't there to utilize. So, that is housing and CDBG admin. Do you guys have questions about housing and CDBG admin or my interesting numbers here?
Any questions for Stephen?
Yes.
Hmm?
I don't have a question on the numbers, but I do have a bigger picture question. Based on your knowledge base of both your department and planning, what would be your dream consolidated plan?
Okay, so you're not talking about the comprehensive plan, you're talking about the consolidated plan, the 5-year we're doing. I think a primary focus on housing would be good, and housing related services, including include homelessness. I think that should be a #1 priority goal. We need to basically just increase the amount and quality of the existing housing stock, and we need to put people in those. We need to decrease the amount of vacant properties, and we need to just get people into these homes that exist, get them fixed up. That would require planning, that would require housing, would require code enforcement, would require a lot of actors in place. That's kind of my overall goal. I think that's one of the primary focal points where you're going to need is better affordable quality housing. More rental properties, but rental properties are hard to do outside of, say, Chodo projects. And that's kind of something that we could do with CDBG. But again, like I said, how do we make this program in a way that's not going to lead to people leaving the area because they can't afford the increase in costs. So there's a term for that. And I can't remember what it's called. Gentrification? Is that it? Gentrification? Yeah. So we don't want to gentrify any area. We need to balance out the students where they're living. As much as people hate student housing, students have to live somewhere. They do contribute to the economy. Where do you put them in a way that's smart and works? So I think housing should be a primary focal point. After that, supportive services to keep people in the housing. And then that would be my primary point for the con plan. That's what I would go for.
That's good. Anybody else? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris is here.
Can't believe I don't get any of
You don't get any what? Golf clap.
All right.
Right here, I'm constantly leaning.
Good evening, everyone.
I did. Good evening.
Thank you for staying up late for my presentation. So we're looking at the CDGB funds for the Building Construction Code Enforcement Office. I think Steve presented you with some numbers. Things have changed since I started this 6 years ago. I think at that time, our staffing budget was around 500,000, and CDGB contributions to the code department is, Steve, 246? Right. It's roughly a third now. So it's, the cost of things is outpacing the contributions from CDGB. Still very appreciative for every single penny of that. But we're, definitely moving on, and I don't know if those funds ever increase, but cost of doing business certainly has. And it's, money well spent. When we look at the services that we provide, our building and construction department, which reviews applications for renovations and new construction, performs the inspections during and certifies the buildings as safe to be occupied, was at an all-time high for cost of construction in 2024 at $95 million. The next closest year was back in 2018. We're at 75 million. So significantly higher. A big portion of that went to residential construction and renovations. In the past, it was always the commercial that outpaced the residential, but it's a lot of money going into residential. In fact, in 2024, 75 million of it was for low-income housing. Town and Country and Saratoga Heights alone made up the lion's share of that work. So if you're not familiar with those properties, they do provide housing for low to middle income families, and they're doing extensive renovations at both of those properties to bring them up to date with energy conservation. So that's insulation, heating, air conditioning, and complete facelifts to provide really up to date, safe, clean housing for low income families. The code enforcement side doesn't have quite the same impact. That's more of a just a not so much for improvements, but to keep the bottom from dropping out. Kind of a last ditch effort to keep properties from falling into disrepair and becoming vacant, abandoned properties. Fair amount of work in that department. We have, according to GIS data, roughly 1,100 multiple family dwelling units in the city of Binghamton. Last year, we conducted inspections on over 550 of those properties. So keeping in pace with the state's mandate to provide an inspection on multiple family dwelling units at least every 3 years, we're well ahead of schedule, being that we did roughly half of them in 1 year. So keeping up with performing inspections, notifying responsible parties of when deficiencies are identified, and compelling them to bring these buildings back into compliance so that we can get a few more years out of those rather than just milking them for everything they got and letting them fall into disrepair. We do the bulk of our work in low income areas. A lot of that is complaint driven. And of course, the complaints are coming from areas that have been neglected. We have the west side north of Maine, the north side, Center City, which is around Susquehanna, Lisle, Rutherford, Stuyvesant, a couple pockets on the south side around, I guess, really around the bridges. As soon as we cross over the State Street Bridge or the Tompkins Street Bridge, we have a couple low income areas there that get a lot of our attention. And the east side is more sparse. It's not so much of a concentration, but we do a fair amount of work over there too. So most of the work for the code enforcement office is in low to middle income areas. Very little work west of Penn Ave on the south side. Very little work south of Leroy towards the river on the west side. So we're providing services right where CDGB would like to see those services going. And we're forecasting the same for this year. We got some projects coming up in the construction department around the Fairview Recovery Services. They're building a new building up there. We have Salvation Army, who's renovating property over on the west side on Walnut. We had Family Enrichment Network picking up the old Assembly of God, one of the buildings on Water Street at our Washington Street, and making that available for classrooms and instruction and childcare. So a lot of the building construction services are going to the target audiences that CDGB looks at. And we have not seen any deviation from the target areas for code in 18 years. And I don't anticipate 2025 is going to all of a sudden shift to focusing on middle to high income neighborhoods. We're really always going to be there to compel compliance and keep the safety levels at the required status for low to middle income housing stock. If I had any wishes at all, I'd like to see CDGB funds keep pace with where it's been historically and funding about half of the personal services for our department, but that would mean moving us from 246 up to about 375. If anybody has any questions, I'll do my best to give you all the details.
Thanks for coming and talking to us again.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
If my memory serves me, in previous presentations, you've described frustrations with staff retention and also with court process bottleneck. Any changes on either of those fronts?
Yeah, staff retention is always an issue. I mean, people, young professionals who have young families and have the ability to do higher paying work, usually, which includes a more sporadic schedule and a lot of out of town travel, do chase the dollar and go for it. We've lost some really good talent for higher salaries, but we have also negotiated really hard for higher salaries for the staff. We've increased them significantly. I think it was 2023. We bargained for increases specifically for the department. We were able to realize that and make that happen. And then when we put that together with some cost of living increases that have happened over the last couple of years, it's not great. It's at par with some of the similar municipalities, similar in size and demographics. We're still at the lower end when we compare ourselves with Utica, Troy, Niagara Falls, Rome. But we're in the game. We were not even in the game before. And given, some of the benefits that the city provides, so you put that together with an acceptable salary, not stellar, but acceptable. We've recruited some very good people. In fact, I have 3 open positions, and I'm going to say for the first time ever, the last 4 positions that I filled were all by individuals who have bachelor's degrees and significant work experience. So we're recruiting some good talent. The trick now is retaining them, keeping them there. We did just lose our plumbing inspector. He's at the point where he's able to retire. His wife is retiring, so they got big plans for their retirement years. And just got an application from a great heating, plumbing, and air conditioning guy with 30 years in the field. And he is at the point in his life where he's looking for, more predictable schedule and more local work so that he can be with his family, and brings a lot of experience to the table. And the salary is in a place that probably isn't what he's seen over the last 30 years, but it's an acceptable level that he can live on. And he's, throwing his hat in the ring. So we're taking a look at that. I got 3 new guys starting on Monday. One of them comes to us with 6 years of experience as a code official, so minimal training. He already knows the ropes. He knows exactly what we're expecting of him. And we're in a pretty good position. And I knock on wood because that's not happened before. And I just hope we can maintain that and keep it going in that direction. Yeah.
With the court and the violation process.
Yeah, we have
Anything
that,
on
the
that?
housing court prosecutor that the mayor brought on board. When he was elected into his term, she's been here now. Seems like just a short amount of time, but it's got to be this got to be her 4th year. And she's very aggressive, been getting some hefty fines. Is certainly increased the ability to get the judgments that she's been seeking. I think, that whether or not that compels compliance is yet to be seen, but I think there's, the word on the street is it's not just a walk in the park like it used to be. There's, now a feeling of maybe this isn't going to be just, walk in and get my slap on the wrist and walk out. Maybe I'm going to be expected to actually not bring the property into compliance, but pay some hefty fines for not doing that. And now I have to reevaluate my choices. Maybe compliance would have been less painful. So that's going to be the long game. That's something that we have to kind of watch and see how that goes. But it certainly helps in our effort to compel compliance. Again, we can't really do it for them, but we can certainly make the alternative a little more uncomfortable, and she's been doing great with that. So yeah, we really have never seen that working so well. We have an incredible amount of cooperation from the Parks Department and from DPW with regards to fulfilling work orders. If we see a property that has something that needs to be done that the city could do for them, such as cleaning up garbage, shoveling sidewalks, securing vacant buildings, making sure that things are safe and sanitary. That's always been a struggle to get everybody cooperating all at the same time. And I think for the first time, we have that going in our direction. I'm safe to say we're firing on all 4 cylinders right now, and that's not often the case. So we're definitely not on cruise control, but we're feeling like the wheels are turning. We're working. Yeah. Anybody else?
Anyone
Hey,
else?
yes.
I know I would like to share something. I live in one of those pockets on the south side where you guys are frequently over there patrolling.
Yeah.
I personally feel like you guys are a little predatory. I know you guys showed up at my house, which has no code violations, and tried to throw away my winter tires. And when I went outside, luckily I work third shift, so I was already home when you guys pulled up. And when I went outside to ask what you were doing in my driveway, they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Just talk to your landlord. Well, I'm the homeowner and what are you guys doing here? And they said that I should have been issued a letter, which I never got. And I had to very sternly tell them to leave my property
So
because
this is Public Works Sanitation Department was at your house, ready to
yes,
discard what they thought was.
yes. Because apparently my winter tires, which were only in my driveway for a couple of days because they
Yeah.
were getting put on my SUV,
Yeah.
had been cited and I got no letter of it. I also have a neighbor who has had multiple code violations. I live on Lower Mary Street for the record. And they have multiple code violations. They have complied with all of the code violations. They have fixed them all. And now you guys are now giving them a hard time. It's a lady who is 86 years old. And you guys are now giving her a hard time, threatening her to put her in jail because she can't get a building permit
Yeah.
for the code violations.
Hopefully, we're not the ones that are making that threat. We're not supposed to be doing
Well,
that.
it's in the courts now and there's judges.
So there
and
is a
things.
threat that there could be
Yeah,
some
and there-
sentencing, but down the road, yeah, I would not want my staff making those kinds of threats. That's not our position, not our place to do so.
I just feel like that instead of targeting us current homeowners that
Yeah.
are paying our taxes, you could go after some of the slumlords that are on my street that don't even live locally. They live in
Yeah.
Queens. So this isn't very reassuring for you guys to ask for essentially more to keep up with the upkeep when I feel like you're being predatory in certain
I'm
neighborhoods.
really sorry to hear that. We certainly don't want that to be the feeling. We certainly don't want to make anybody feel targeted or that we're being predatory. We could discuss the details of your case. If you want to give me a call at some point, I can look it up. Very little I could do from here without my database to see, who was there, when it was, how much time lapsed, what the circumstances around that are. But I would be interested in hearing that if you'd like to have a
I would
discussion
love to talk to you
at
more
some
about
other
that.
time. Yeah. Anybody else?
I would just like to comment, I've been volunteering at the Samaritan House on Fayette Street for a long time. And the houses across the street, 2, 4, 6, 8, just I'm not sure exactly, but it's the even side. But I would commend that lately, I don't know, it's a combination of DPW and code. But the garbage that has been between those houses is unbelievable. And squatters that are living in there. I'm sure you're familiar with the properties I'm talking about. But recently there's been a concerted effort that's everyone's been noticing. So
Yeah.
something good's happening. So I don't know if it's because of code is really getting on it.
That was actually a combined effort. I do know the properties. There was an email that coordinated multiple departments together at the same time, included Department of Public Works for
Right.
trash removal, code enforcement. Parks was able to secure the buildings. The police department was there to make sure that we were not sealing people in the buildings and
Right.
securing them after they've been vacated. That's been a huge effort that was coordinated by the mayor to address those properties and see if we can pool all the resources together all at the same time to address that as a cohesive city rather than
Right.
individual departments.
But it's a sad comment that it had to come to
I
that,
had to come to that they
you know,
were in
that it was
bad
let
hands
go
for a
for so
long
many
time.
years before that it
A
came to
lot of
this
years
crisis.
of gross mismanagement
Yes,
and negligence.
yeah,
And it's a big mess to clean up and it's a tough one. And it takes a while to put things right. We do have properties that have not been put right for so long that they had to be demolished. And that's a huge it's a huge financial burden on the city to foot the bill for demolition. Even a very low cost demolition is 20,000. Some of them are up to $60,000-$80,000. So when you take down 10 of those, the city's paying a lot of money to eliminate those hazards, but
Right.
some of them had been neglected so severely that their renovation cost would exceed the market value of the property.
right.
There's no bringing it back.
and we've been discussing about, 5-year plan and what that is a corridor that people would exit off of the
Mhm.
Brandywine,
Yeah.
onto
It's
Susquehanna.
one of the
and through-
gateways into the city. It
Yes.
looks terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is, we hope we can, be a concentration of those efforts, but hopefully,
We continue all the time. It's, in fact, we are, performing right now what we call code sweeps, where, the entire staff gets together and, does a foot patrol in a certain area, namely the gateways to the city. We've just conducted 2 of them, and between, the 2, we've netted out of, I think it was 120 and 60, about 180 properties, probably about 90 of them were cited for things as simple as just, take care of some chipped and peeling paint, which is unsightly and potentially hazardous, as it could be lead paint, all the way up to some more extensive repairs. And, we don't always, hit a home run with that, but we can certainly compel people to do the right thing. Good people kind of take the warning, heed the call, and do the right thing. Some of them drag their feet a little bit and have to go through the court system, but that is a concern of ours with the weather breaking and springtime, coming up, and a lot of visitors to Binghamton. We're starting with the gateways, the front street, Susquehanna Street, couple of hidden pockets that sometimes get overlooked. We just did a big patrol down Julian and Baxter. So we're out there, we're being proactive. We're also being, reactive. Every complaint we get gets investigated. So feel free to call them in if you see something that you would like inspected. We will certainly take it very seriously and make sure that that gets the attention that it needs. You're welcome. Yeah.
Deborah.
Yes.
Hi, Chris. Welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Going to be very pointed. The recent coordination in regards to Fayette Street may have been the results of about 5 calls through various city hall departments.
Mhm.
In the past, you're well aware of the septet. That kind of went by the wayside. Community policing through environmental design,
Mhm.
which around a conference table, the mayor's office, your office,
Police
police
department.
department, it's zoning. You also have the county so that they can do the mapping on, who the owners are. That has not been in existence. I've
Right.
asked for that to come back
Okay.
on or after June 1st.
Mhm.
Captain Bidwell, I believe, just recently went through training, so I missed him during that time. What is unacceptable is how Center City looks,
Mhm.
specifically in regards to tagging and graffiti.
Mhm.
What is across from the Samaritan House and the very pointed message that our housing justice advocates have more hot air and time to vandalize vacant buildings, not knowing that they're right underneath a police camera.
Mhm.
I hope they're able to go back and charge those individuals.
I would hope so too. That sounds like a step in the right direction.
What I have been less than pleased with is your vacant property officers' attention to detail and maybe what can be done. 12 Rutherford Street, which is visible from the Brandywine. It's the cul-de-sac, dead end of Rutherford Street.
Yeah.
There's a church right across the street. There's still a few homeowners. Well, there's 2 left. Last in my block. Discussed that last spring, last fall. Still no reduction in graffiti. And how that looks, it's actually increased. Phenomenal conversation with CRT. They're also involved with the Fayette Street area because there was some activity there. When I asked, because it is a vacant property, I know about the citation. You've schooled us for many years. There's a time for people to respond or react to.
Yeah, opportunity to cure.
Correct. And
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
But we are months, if not a year to April, that this has been reported. We, as a group at our last meeting, spoke about how the look and feel of our community is. We just had opening day for the Rumble Ponies. What do you think people coming off the exit, let alone just traveling there? And I know, Justin, the exit for Robinson Street, take a gander from the Brandywine down over, just the litter and trash.
Yeah.
And what's on the back porch. Can't wait for the leaves to come out because that'll cover it. Not acceptable. How that block, Fayette, between Hawley and Susquehanna, was allowed to fester like that. And squatter issue that you're now having to deal with. How much more resources have to be spent when we're not taking care of it to begin with? I don't know what if the riverbanks are part of your jurisdiction, are they?
No, unfortunately, we deal
Okay,
exclusively
not a problem,
with-
so I'll
with
go on to the
pri-
next subject.
private property. Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay, not a problem.
Yeah.
So many things. In regards to following with my other commissioner, in regards to when you get a hold of, and I witnessed firsthand the court, and it just was unbelievable how a senior citizen and veteran was dragged through the court, and how other landlords needing interpretation had no heat or water. And it was like, that was fine. There was like extensions that lawyers that an individual had were not notified of the hearing. So the person would show up because they had to. No attorney gets delayed another time. Waste of everyone's time. The brochure that is supposed to go at the door when you have an interface for a code violation, whether it's a homeowner or tenant, that has been spotty. It is not done on every case. I've witnessed it. That is absolutely crucial to give people hope so that they do reach out to programs. We have that. It's just a matter of advertising that and getting that out. Do you offer and recommend to people what programs? And then the problem is, Chris, that you need to understand, once that person gets signed up, they're on a waiting list. It doesn't conveniently fit into your court calendar. At what point do you stop badgering that homeowner who has done what I was able to provide in the brochure? This is what you can utilize. I've come at you with a lot. I'll stop. We probably should have a private conversation, but I've never been discouraged, and I haven't spoken out in front of my fellow commissioners because I don't like to bring that negative energy to Center City.
Yeah.
But we're unacceptable where we are right now.
That's what we
So
deal
thank
with
you.
all day is negative energy. So please bring it to us. We do our best to mitigate it and turn it into a positive outlook. So I would encourage you to give me a call anytime. We can have a more extensive conversation and identify some areas of need and make sure that they get the attention that they warrant.
Really appreciate that
Yeah.
because again, volunteers coming to Samaritan House or clients there, you're at a major church and facility, two of them.
Mhm.
State workers, everyone, county, city, come off Susquehanna and
Yeah.
into the city.
Yeah.
What look and feel is that?
Yep. Yeah, that's the route that I take. I see those things all the time. So yeah, absolutely areas of concern.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Any further questions for Chris? Seeing none. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
All right, so we have completed the initial agenda. I just wanted to bring up add something as your chair for concerns, because we struggle to make quorum regularly here. And I've got some attendance numbers that Stephen had given me that is disturbing for some of our members. We tried to bring Rebecca Porter back into the fold now for 2 full meetings. She said she would be here. She said she'd be here. She has not been here. And she has, in fact, not been here since April of last year. I hate to talk about removing a member, but we've done it before and it led to an increased turnout. And I feel that some of our members that we've added in this time frame have been nice additions to our board, that have been active participants who believe in the city and help and want to make a difference. Not that Rebecca doesn't, but her attendance is a concern. We also, hold on, I'm trying to read here. So, I'm just reading, hold on. He sent me a list and it's broken down. There's red and there's black and there's white and there. Okay, so, in the first district, Rebecca, during the 9 eligible meetings since then, she is 0 for 9. Eileen, you are 6 for 9, which is not terrible, but you're okay. Our third district is vacant. So I've reached out to city council telling them we need to fulfill your membership. Nate's district, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be Rebecca Rathmel was that
Oh,
position, so South Side. Oh, no, she wouldn't have had to been.
she was filled by it's a West Side position, and
Okay.
she was
Good point.
appointed by the West Side person, but she became a city council person, so she had to step down. Yeah. Oh, come on. So that position needs to be filled. Ebony has been to one of the last 9 meetings, and she's our secretary.
Well.
Oh, John's our secretary. Oh, that's right. We elected that. Sorry. I forgot. Jordan is 7 of 9. Marianne was sick, but she is 7 of 9. I am 7 of 9. Michelle, she is 7 of 9. John is 9 of 9.
Gold star.
Deb Hogan is 9 of 9.
I'll bring some stickers next meeting.
Perfect stars. And Marianne, oh, I'm sorry. What did I do? You missed one while you were 6, so you're 8 of 9. So our attendance is fairly good. Mine are at election time. There's nothing I can do about that. Oh, sorry, you're Maryland. 7 of 9. I said Marianne, I meant Maryland. Yeah. She's at 9 of 9. She's a perfect score. So, we need to discuss if we want to remove members or if we should wait to see if city council fills the third one first before we move forward with that. But 0 attendance in it, basically a year now. We're in April. So she has not been here for a full year. And Ebony has only been here once in that year.
Please note that the only way to remove a CDAC member is through CDAC make a recommendation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, even city council can't remove a member. They can ask for resignations, but they can't remove a member until, or sub-member out until the end of their term.
But we can't.
You can. Oh, yeah.
We can remove a member, the city
Well,
council can.
Let me rephrase that. And I'll have to look at the rules specifically. You make a recommendation. So I think because in the code, it allows you to make the recommendation. That's the only way to remove a CDAC member.
I think that that's what we did
Yeah,
before.
we did. We
And
did
it's-
recommend to remove, I feel like that was my first
Her
meeting.
name
That
is
was all.
Dawn.
First or second meeting as chair, we recommended to remove
Dawn.
Dawn.
Yeah, so I think applying the same criteria. we
It's
should
basically
move
we're in the
ahead.
same boat
It's
as
the
Dawn
same
was
thing.
then.
It's the same thing. And she did not respond to your constant
Yeah.
inquiry. So I think if somebody doesn't come to something for a year, they're telling you that it's not gonna happen.
Just so you're aware, the requirement, did I give you the requirements as well? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Okay, well, he's gonna be looking.
Okay.
The requirements are if you miss, I think it's 6 months out and or you miss the last 2 meetings. So this is,
Per
you
the
know,
city charter, CDAC
Yeah.
can vote to recommend removal of members to city council who fail to attend 50% plus of all meetings in the previous 6 months or have missed the previous 3 meetings. Well, they're long past all of those things. Rebecca did say that she had changed emails and wasn't getting the emails. That was 3 meetings ago now. We said we would change the emails. We did. She's being texted. She's not responding. Ebony last meeting said she was going on vacation. She came back. I texted her. We were having a meeting and she was like, I'm preparing to leave this on Friday. So I'm packing. So she couldn't come because she was packing. So I'm, if you're constantly leaving town and we're not a priority, do we continue to keep her in a seat? John.
I certainly want to be sensitive to, we all have busy schedules, everything like that. But having been at those meetings when we have quorum issues, especially when we have presenters that we
Yeah.
had to turn away, that was incredibly embarrassing. Really, really embarrassing. So I mean, I'm ready to push forward, I think with recommendation on 2.
And we had Marilyn who came in from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, she gets a sticker too for that. Yeah.
Zoomed in to get here. So we got quorum. So I think that was the meeting you were sick for. 2 meetings ago or whatever. Yeah.
I'm in favor of potentially recommending to remove 2 members tonight. I don't know if anyone else is in the same boat.
I'm in favor with you, John.
All right. So do we need to make some type of motion for each one of them or can we motion in one? Okay. So does anyone have a disagreement or any concern about removal of a member? Anybody? Michelle? I see hesitation. No hesitation? None? Okay. All right. So do we have a motion to recommend the removal of our first district representative? What's committee member? Board member? Rebecca Porter?
Commissioner,
Commissioner? Whatever the title is. And our 4th district, Ebony Hatch. Haddich. It says Hatch. Hatto, yeah. Hattoh. This is definitely CH. Sorry. That's my fault. I should know her last name by now. I apologize, Ebony. All right. So that leaves us that'll leave us if city council take action on this, if we actually vote for this, city council takes action at their next meeting. I'm hopeful that they'll put forth 3 people at that same meeting so that we have 3 new members coming up here shortly. Vacancy is 3rd. That's Kavanaugh's district, 1st district, and the 4th district, Nate's.
I do have a concern.
Okay.
So at this juncture of time of, we're towards the end of our deliberations and developing a budget, and then you really do expect that we would get 3 new people that would be able to come in and get up to speed and make informed decisions about voting on a budget. Should this be effective at the end of this term, or should it be effective immediately?
I think that's counting on the idea that they're going to show up to these next meetings.
Right.
We have a vacancy anyway.
I don't share that optimism.
I'm just trying to think ahead as far as if those folks are terminated, would it be considered that we are enough to make quorum, that everyone will be here all the time?
So you have to have 6 members to have a quorum, and then you have to have 7 members. I believe it's 7 yays on the budget.
And
So
there's 8 of us.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
it'll be pizza on the 30th, just so you're aware.
We're that's hard to do. Well, the term would begin January, so
Effective May 1st.
effective May 1st. Do we like that?
I guess, yeah.
That way, if Ebony does show up, she's still a member until May 1st.
Okay.
Because she knows that there's 2 more meetings, correct? I mean, she gets the emails, she gets my text messages. She responds to the text once in a while. Hold on, let me see what she said today if she responded. I won't be coming tonight, period. Last meeting, not tonight, no, leaving for vacation. No, I'm out of town. Steve knows last meeting that I wouldn't be here this meeting. December 11th, thank you, I'll be there. Nope, I won't be at this meeting. Okay, thanks, enjoy your meeting. Sorry, I can't be there. Not tonight, sorry. Thank you for reaching out, not tonight, that's September 4th. Our August meeting, nope. So at least she responds. It's consistent. Yeah. So effective May 1st. Okay. All right. So would somebody like to make that motion? Or do you want me to?
I'll make the motion to remove.
Do you want me to reiterate what our motion needs to be?
Sure. How should I phrase that?
Oh, okay. What did you write down? Go for it.
This is so the CDAC makes formal recommendation to remove Ebony Hattow and Rebecca Porter from the CDAC effective May 1st.
Make a motion
Should-
to approve that. Do I?
Can offer an amendment to that? Can we put the district numbers in those?
CDAC making a recommendation to remove Ebony Hattow representing the 4th district and Rebecca Porter representing the 1st district from the CDAC effective May 1st.
Thank you. For that?
Do we have to put in there why, what our reason is due to attendance?
Well, I mean, you can only make this vote based off of certain criteria. So.
They're gonna
because of
reach
the-
out to me
Oh, yeah.
as
they'll-
soon as
they'll
they
know
get
why.
this. I'm gonna get,
Oh, jeez.
I think we're good.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a mass amount of emails from city council members and then some text messages and some phone calls and some major concern of why we're removing members. And I will reiterate those numbers. I mean, 0 for 9, 0 for the year, 1 for the year. And I mean, that's going back to April. I mean, you have to count April to get the 1. So. All right.
John has a concern.
I second the motion. I
Oh,
think was where we're at.
Yeah.
All right. So that's 4th. Do we have all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstains? Unanimous. All right, so that brings our business to close unless anyone has any further business they'd like to bring up. Deborah?
Yes, in regards to getting into the building for meetings,
Mhm.
I believe the extra meeting, or just to make sure on the 30th that we have someone there to come in with us. There was no security guard down there.
Yeah, no, there wasn't when we came either.
Right.
There was
and
a
I-
police officer when I came in.
Yeah, he flagged me in. The
Yeah.
light went off when I went through the thing, and then he said,
Metal
just go in if
detector.
you're going
Okay,
upstairs.
I'll make sure Stephen gets,
So Deb, I actually have a note on here. I'm gonna contact the clerk's office and try to figure out why we did not have a guard for a special meeting.
he's up in the window with a mic. That sounded better than your mic down here.
Yeah, probably because I'm right closer to the, oh, you know what? That might be the reason we've been sputtering is because the receiver's on the other side of the wall. I'm literally right in front of the receivers.
It sounds good.
Yeah, good. But I will ask. We should have had a security guard. I do not know why. For these special meetings, I both contacted IT to put them on the website, as well as the follow-up with the Zoom link. And then I also contacted the clerk's office, and someone is supposed to get a guard for us. I do not know why they did not. But I
Well,
will
we will
find
make sure for the 30th,
Yeah,
the
well,
special meeting,
don't forget, we also have the 16th, which is a regular meeting, but that's,
regularly scheduled. Yeah. So we'll make sure, we'll double down on those dates.
Steve will know there was a message sent to IT for accessibility, if that could be reiterated as well.
yep,
Yep.
I originally sent it to the mayor's office, but I will do a follow-up to IT and ask them about the door being too quick.
Perfect.
I have something to add.
Okay.
These little bonus meetings. Will that boost me up 9 out of 9 so I can have a perfect attendance too? Like, is that extra credit?
No,
Just wondered.
you and I can languish with a missed meeting. All right, let's do our final attendance and adjournment. So let's start up with Deborah.
Deborah Hogan, a mayoral appointee.
Thank you.
Eileen Hughes, District 2.
John Brunza, mayoral appointee.
Mary Ann Callahan, mayoral appointee.
Michelle O'Loughlin, member at large.
Marilyn Austin, 6th District.
Jordan Trice, 5th District.
And I'm Justin McGregor, the chair, 7th District. Do we have a motion to skedaddle?
Motion.
I second.
Second, Michelle?
Yep.
Who,
All right.
who was the first?
John,
Okay.
adjourn, John, second, Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll see you the 16th.